The church is ubiquitous. It's got its tentacles everywhere in our society. And the Bible supports what it does. It says, arise and shine, enlarge your tent and your territories. Good evening, I'm Guthrie Munyuki and welcome to Vantage. Tonight, on the program Vantage, we have Reverend Obadiah Musindo, founder of Destiny of Africa Network. You have been around for 23 years. Good evening, Reverend Musindo.
Good evening. Thanks, Guthrie, for inviting me. Good evening, viewers.
Reverend, the church plays a very important role in our society, both in times of peace and times of conflict. I would like to understand, what does Destiny of Africa Network do and who are they?
Destiny of Africa Network, Guthrie, we are a Christian organization, a developmental and economic empowerment Christian organization. But we are an Afrocentric Christian organization. We have Eurocentric Christian organizations. So Destiny of Africa Network is there to promote mainly your God-given birthrights. We don't believe in poverty. We believe in prosperity, economic prosperity, social prosperity of our people. And we believe that the eradication of poverty must be done by the victims of poverty themselves. So we have housing projects. We have economic empowerment projects for the youth, for women, and even for men. We run developmental projects for promote or partner with church pastors of different organizations. So we are more like an umbrella Christian organization made up of those who believe that our destiny is in our own hands and we can shape our destiny. We are the authors of our destiny, and through self-determination, we can shape the destiny we want as a country, as a continent.
Sure. You have been around for 23 years now.
Yes.
What are some of the key milestones that you have achieved as the Destiny of Africa Network in terms of empowering people?
Okay. There are thousands of women and youths who received loans from us since in the days of Zim dollars. We even borrowed money from some banks, and we even struggled. We borrowed money and we gave money to our people, and we were struggling even to pay off those loans, but we're doing it for the good of our people. We have also developed thousands of housing stands, and some of our projects have become fully developed, fully serviced, high-density suburbs. We have, under phase 1 and phase 2, we have developed over 40,000 stands with tarred roads, water and sewage. And of course, our beneficiaries through residents associations, they then put their monies together to put electricity, because we can't do everything because of limited resources. Our main task in doing these projects is to provide essential critical services such as putting water, in fact planning, developing housing projects that are well planned, approved, and then we put water, we put roads and so forth. That's the most expensive exercise in the provision of housing, and we've been complementing the efforts of the government in that area. We have also assisted so many churches to develop their own churches. We have also funded some students to proceed with their educational studies in universities and so forth. The number of things. Also, we have provided disadvantaged members of the society with some assistance like Anagogo, poor women and so forth. We've assisted them with through our social welfare programs.
Yes. For the benefit of you, the viewer, I must be upfront. On this program, we have had different, pastors. Others with leanings towards the opposition, and I must also say that you work closely with ZANU-PF.
Yes.
It's not a problem at all.
Yes.
Now, Reverend Musindo, we are going towards 2023 elections, and tensions continue to rise in our society. I would like to get from you the role that you have been playing as a man of God and also as the leader of the Son of Africa Network in terms of promoting peace and tolerance in the communities.
Okay, thanks for this. I'll tell you something. One of the very important program that is helping people to shape the 2023 elections that we've been doing is to make sure that people are involved in the income generating projects, because a hungry person is an angry person. At the same time, I promote peace. I don't agree in violence to say because the so and so. If you check, some of my friends are members of CC. I used to talk to Chamisa when Changre was still around. When Chamisa used to roam around in different hotels, we used to talk. I talked to Douglas Monzora. I talked to Shizai and Shizai. I talked to a number of people. I've got friends in parliament who are members of the opposition and so forth. Because first and foremost, gathering, as a church, we need to say to the people, before we become Methodist, before we become members of Zayoja, AFM, before we became apostolic, before you, Guthrie, you became a journalist, before I decided to be a member of CC or ZANU-PF, first and foremost, we are Zimbabweans. And we didn't choose to be Zimbabweans. We are Zimbabweans by divine design. And we must do everything within our powers, even in our religious diversity, even in our political diversity. We must cherish and value what God gave to us.
Mm-hmm. So, you have said that you don't believe in violence.
I don't believe in violence.
We'll come back to that.
Okay.
Please don't go away. We'll be back. You're watching Vantage. Welcome back. If you have just joined us, tonight we have on the program Vantage, leader and founder of the Son of Africa Network, Reverend Obadiah Musindo. Rev, before we went to the break, we were talking about violence. Now, there's the criticism that has been leveled against the church, whether you are on the opposition side or on the ruling party side, that the church, they choose to ignore certain issues and run with issues that even Western, the polarization that is within our communities. We're talking about violence. We did not hear the church condemning those acts which led to recent arrest of politicians from the Triple C during the More Blessing Ali debacle in Chitungwiza. Why is that the church at times chooses to ignore certain things and run around with other things?
Okay. Sometimes some of these matters are complicated for the church. And most of these, some people, some leaders, some church leaders, cannot just rush and make comments without them having all the facts here. Especially the Nyatsime issue. It confused many people. It came out from other side that Blessing was not an activist for the Triple C, and others are saying this, and others are saying this. So mostly when something is too politicized, the church leaders, they prefer to stay away. there is too much polarization in this country. So sometimes when you prefer to speak, you can be misquoted and given all sorts of names. So there is that fear within church leadership. Some they say no, this is too controversial. Why? Because we have seen some other church leaders taking a political position that is more like the same position with the opposition groups. Or we have seen some church leaders who have spoiled things for other genuine pastors to speak. We have seen many other church leaders speaking like the Western imperialists. We've seen many other church leaders saying God has said this. And I remember there is a white pastor in America. He came out in many newspapers and so forth saying Mnangagwa is going to be killed, dragged and so forth. God said, God said, God said, God said. Now, so the environment becomes so poisonous for genuine men and women of God to then speak, because you don't want to be dragged in this political mud. The problem in Zimbabwe is that I don't want to use the word church gathering. We need to come to a time, to a stage where we say certain denominations, certain individual church ministries, certain church leaders, because for me to sit here and say I speak on behalf of the church, when the church is so divided along the lines or along denominational lines, is so wrong, because we have already differences within the Christian community. For me to start another church, it means I don't agree with the church, with this church, with this church, with this church, with this church. So most church leaders, they speak their denominational view of things. Their worldview is shaped by their denominational experience or denominational doctrines. So you hear some of these people speaking their own denominational opinions, not biblical principles or biblical values. So we have, because I'll tell you something, recently President Mnangagwa was in Bocha Marange, where he addressed thousands of people. But if you check the background of the Marange church, from the way they go, those people African indigenous churches, they don't believe anything involving white people. They don't even believe that pastors like me, we are true men and women of God. They don't believe in those who worship in buildings. So we have a different. So this the Marange people, by the way their church is designed, they're pro ZANU-PF. And then you go to Johannesburg, where these indigenous churches, they participated in the liberation struggle. They see white people, or some white people, as imperialists. They see them as evil people who came to take over their land and so forth. So if you look at the founders of their churches, they were quite revolutionary. The founders of these churches, some of them were even involved in the prophetic declarations of what was going to happen in the future.
Right.
Yes.
You speak about that.
Mm-hmm.
The Catholic bishops have issued another pastoral letter where they are saying that the worsening situation is actually led to more suffering and poverty among the Zimbabweans. And they say that it is time for dialogue. And they also say there is no single party that can claim to have all the solutions to these problems. And in my personal view, I believe that the single party here is, I'm sure it's ZANU-PF, because that is the governing party. As a reverend, why is it that we continue to hear more of megaphone communication rather than discreet communication with the authorities? Have you not tried to speak with these authorities and try to communicate what you normally communicate, publicly.
Yes, this is lack of wisdom. There is no maturity in the manner some of these things are being done. I'll tell you something, Guthrie. If I come to you and approach you in a wrong way, you respond. I'm provoking you. Mnangagwa has never rejected or closed the door and said, I don't want to meet with Catholic bishops or any other bishop. He never said that. But we are surprised by some of our brothers and sisters in different denominations that they prefer to use public domain to express their views. These individuals, they come from different backgrounds. There are certain things that we say, mumusha panema issues that the babas, the fathers, the tetes, they talk in privacy. Then they discuss and so forth and so forth. Then they come to Anna. Now, this situation of saying things publicly against the government and so forth doesn't work. Let us proffer solutions in a more mature way without actually pinpointing, because to say solutions do not only come from one political party, you're already accusing. So how do you engage in dialogue?
There's nothing private about this program. We'll take a short break. Please join us for the last segment. Welcome back to the final segment of this week's Vantage. If you are just joining us towards the tail end of this program, we have our guest today, Reverend Obadiah Musindo, founder and leader of Destiny of Africa Network. Reverend, you are associated with ZANU-PF. Mm-hmm. There is no way I can let you go without discussing this. Last weekend, former ZANU-PF youth leaders, they converged and held a press conference where they were saying that they're forming a breakaway ZANU-PF, which they called the ZANU-PF Original. Why is it that so?
Number one, it's not ZANU-PF Original, because they were not there when ZANU-PF was formed. Jimu Gudaka was not born, Kasugwera was not born when ZANU-PF was formed. Or ZANU-PF was formed around 1962, something like that.
63.
Kasugwera was born in 1970 or 71. So these people, if you saw the people, the conveners of that press conference, they were all not yet born, and they are actually political toddlers. What we need to avoid in politics is to avoid to become emotional politicians. Any political party formed out of bitterness, out of personal hatred, history has taught us it doesn't last. And this is what we call, I will tell you something, mahumbwe. These guys are calling for action. They are attempting to do all sorts of things by avoiding ancient wisdom. What is ancient wisdom? They should just humble themselves, ask for forgiveness, rejoin the party. They have no capacity to remove Mnangagwa. Mnangagwa was there with Mugabe. He was providing Mugabe's security to Mugabe. Even Mugabe said it at one point where he said, today, ndopa kuti nini na Mnangagwa ichenjera orange alusukudai kwataka pamuno kusiva. I mean, they came a long way. Mnangagwa was frustrated left, right, and center. They abused him, they called for rallies, they attacked him. He remained in the party. They wanted to expel him and to push him out of the party. The party pushed him back. It's a system. ZANU-PF is bigger than individuals. I'll tell you something. There is a spirit behind ZANU-PF. The spirit that I believe came from God, the same spirit that coordinated different people from different parts of the world to go for the liberation struggle. In Zambia, up to now I ask the question, who organized people to go to war? We have angels that were assigned by God to liberate this country. So these people, my brothers, like Jimmy, Kunaka, all these people, the Kasukueres, look at what Jonathan Moore is doing. He's doing a fantastic job. Despite the fact that there's some disagreement, some bitterness, he's still defending ZANU-PF. Everybody must defend ZANU-PF. Let them not commit political suicide to say, no, we'll join hands with this one and this one and this one, then remove Mnangagwa. ZANU-PF is, of course, ZANU-PF is far bigger than Mnangagwa. Some of them are trying to divide the political leaders. We have President Emerson Mnangagwa, we have KCD Mohad, we have Chiwenga. They want to say they are doing things in the name of Chiwenga. And they're saying, we are for Chiwenga. We want Chiwenga to lead. Chiwenga is not naive. They condemned Chiwenga. They said bad things about Chiwenga. Some of these people, they were pushing for the arrest of Chiwenga suddenly because they hate Mnangagwa. They want to drag Chiwenga's name to advance their personal pet agendas. This is about personal issues. Wakanga uri kunze komsangano ZANU-PF unounyana kuri cold out there. Ngavadzoke kumsangano, ngavabvunze Tekere, ngavabvunze Dumbujena, ngavabvunze some of the people musangano haura hamwe, haugumbuka, hausense my emotions. You use wisdom. They are wasting their resources. They are wasting their monies. Imagine those who were pouring in money, having all-night meetings who were planning to take over the leadership of ZANU-PF. People celebrated when they thought Mnangagwa has been pushed out. It's their time, what. But there is what we call the word destiny. There are those who are destined by God to rule Zimbabwe.
So Reverend, you are saying that it is political suicide, to fight outside ZANU-PF.
Yes.
When you claim to have been ZANU-PF.
Yeah. Even Chamisa committed political suicide when Mnangagwa invited him in 2018. Mnangagwa actually delayed to make appointments of his cabinet. He wanted to talk to Chamisa, but some people lied and whispered to Chamisa to say, you're powerful, you're powerful. Mnangagwa forgave some of these people. If it was them who were treated the way they treated Mnangagwa, people are going to be jailed, people are going to be killed. Mnangagwa forgave them. But they keep on provoking and provoking and provoking. Mnangagwa is a father. He was patient when they were provoking him. He's still patient. Let them not think that anything, there is nothing called original ZANU-PF. There is only one ZANU-PF occupying a shake building. If there is one original ZANU-PF approved by God or by the spirit that caused people to go to war, they should be occupying that building. When your time has come, you find yourself in State House without any effort. Okay. So these self-appointed leaders are wasting their time.
I hear you, Reverend. History has it that there are people, starting with one of the founders of ZANU-PF, when it was still ZANU, the late Reverend Obadiah Musindo. He could not prosper outside ZANU-PF when it became the ZANU-PF. We had the Dumbujena, the late Chief Justice. We had Tekere. We had Maimjuru. We had Didmas Mutasa, Rugare Gumba, Ambrose Mteneri, some of these big wigs. And most of them, they've actually gone back to ZANU-PF. So, lastly, do you think that ZANU-PF itself is still able to forgive these people despite all their attempts to try and say, look, it's our democratic right to have another party?
No, they can form their part, but this is an exercise in futility. It is their right to play with political mud. They can do whatever they want to do. They're actually given that power, that freedom by our constitution. But if they are serious to participate in the political development of our country, they must learn to respect the current leadership, support Mnangagwa. Mnangagwa is forgiving, Mnangagwa is accommodating. Let them humble themselves. We've seen some politicians quietly communicating, appealing Mnangagwa has been very patient, waiting for his time. Let them not try to push Mnangagwa out. All these things will come back to haunt them. They're playing with fire.
Talking of time, time is always our enemy when we are having some serious discussions. Our time is up.
Yes.
I would like to thank you for having made time to come to Vantage this week.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Here we are, viewers. We had Reverend Obadiah Musindo, leader of Destiny of Africa Network, who has been its founder and leading a crusade to empower people for the past 23 years. I am Guthrie Munyuki.